Time waits for no one. Not for you, not for me, not for anyone. Right now, as I speak these words, something wonderful is waiting for you, something amazing that could change your life forever. But here's the truth that most folks don't want to hear. That wonderful thing won't wait forever. If you wait too long, you'll lose everything. I want you to think about that for a moment. Really let it sink in. Because this isn't just some catchy phrase, this is the reality of how life works. Everything you truly want in life comes with an expiration date. Not printed clearly like on a carton of milk, but it's there nonetheless. Your dreams, your goals, your deepest desires, they all have a window of opportunity that won't stay open forever. The universe presents us with perfect timing, and when we ignore it, we risk missing what was meant for us. That perfect timing might be right now, as you sit here listening to these words. You see, I've spent decades talking with thousands of people, and I've noticed something important. The people who achieve great things, who live full and meaningful lives, they all share one quality. They understand that action taken today is worth 10 times more than action planned for tomorrow. They know in their bones that waiting too long means losing everything that matters. Look at the opportunities in your life right now. That business idea you've been thinking about, that relationship you want to heal, that skill you want to learn, that health habit you want to start. They're all sitting there, waiting for you to make a move. But they won't wait forever, and with each passing day the door closes a little more. I'm not saying this to frighten you. I'm saying this because I care about you and your potential. I'm saying this because I've seen too many beautiful souls with incredible gifts who waited and waited until their chances slipped away. And I don't want that for you. The universe operates on perfect timing. Not your timing, not society's timing. Perfect timing. And that perfect timing is almost always now. Right now. This moment. What's holding you back? What excuse have you been telling yourself that sounds so reasonable, but is actually keeping you from everything you want? Because that's what excuses do. They sound completely logical while they quietly steal your dreams. When I was teaching at universities, I would ask my students, how many of you have a book inside you that you want to write someday? Nearly every hand would go up. Then I'd ask, how many of you have started writing that book? Almost all the hands would go down. The difference between those who raise their hands twice and those who don't is simple. Action versus waiting. The waiting game is the most dangerous game you'll ever play. Because unlike other games, in this one you never know when the final buzzer will sound. And when it does, all your somedays turn into never. Let me tell you what happens when you wait too long. I've seen it time and again. The first thing that disappears is opportunity. That open door starts to close. The person who wanted to help you moves on to someone who's ready. The market that was perfect for your idea gets filled by someone else. Opportunity doesn't linger for those who hesitate. Next, you lose momentum. You see, starting anything is like pushing a heavy boulder. It takes tremendous energy to get it moving just an inch. But once it's rolling, keeping it going takes much less effort. When you wait, you have to start from zero every time. And each time, it gets harder to find that initial push. Then comes the most painful loss of all, belief in yourself. Each time you tell yourself later or someday, you're sending a message to your subconscious that your dreams aren't worth immediate action. You're teaching yourself that procrastination is acceptable, and slowly, invisibly, your self-confidence erodes. You start to wonder if you have what it takes. You begin to question if your goals were ever realistic. I remember talking with a gentleman in his 70s after one of my lectures. He had tears in his eyes as he told me about the novel he'd wanted to write since he was 25. I always thought there would be time, he said. I always believed someday would come. Now, Facing health challenges, he realized that someday had come and gone without him noticing. The novel that could have touched countless lives remained locked inside him. The tragedy isn't just his personal loss. It's the loss to all of us who never got to read his words, who never got to be changed by his unique vision. Think about your own life. What are you waiting to do? What gift are you holding back from the world? Because make no mistake, your delay isn't just costing you, it's costing everyone who could benefit from what only you can offer. I've seen people wait too long in relationships too, waiting to say I love you, waiting to apologize, waiting to reach out and heal old wounds. And then one day the person they wanted to connect with is gone, moved away, changed their life path, or in some cases, passed on. All those unspoken words, all those healing conversations, lost forever because the timing never seemed right. In business, I've watched brilliant entrepreneurs wait for perfect conditions to launch their ideas. They wait for more capital, more knowledge, more connections, more confidence. Meanwhile, someone else with half their talent, but twice their courage, steps out and creates something remarkable. The waiting entrepreneur is left wondering, that could have been me. Let me tell you something important about waiting. Fear is almost always the real reason we delay. We dress it up with logical sounding excuses, but underneath is plain old fear. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of change, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. I understand this fear. We all feel it. Every single human being faces fear when stepping into something new and meaningful. The difference isn't in who feels fear and who doesn't. It's in who acts despite the fear and who lets fear make their decisions. Fear whispers all sorts of believable stories. It says, you're not ready yet. It says, you need more preparation. It says, people will laugh at you. It says, you might fail. And the most dangerous whisper of all, there's plenty of time. You can do it later. These whispers sound like wisdom. They sound like self-protection, but they're actually fear's clever disguise. And while you're listening to these persuasive whispers, life is passing by. Opportunities are disappearing. Your precious time on this earth is ticking away. The most dangerous word in the English language might be someday. Someday I'll start that business. Someday I'll write that book. Someday I'll tell her how I feel. Someday I'll forgive him. Someday I'll learn that skill. Someday I'll take care of my health. But here's the hard truth. Someday isn't a day of the week. It's not on any calendar. Someday never arrives. All we ever have is today, this moment, right now. And how you use your now determines everything about your future. I want you to consider something. What if the idea of the right time is an illusion? What if instead, the right time is simply when you decide to begin? What if you're waiting for a starting gun that has already fired? Great achievements don't come from sudden inspiration or perfect timing. They come from starting before you feel ready and continuing when the path gets difficult. They come from understanding that the conditions will never be perfect and acting anyway. Every single person who has ever accomplished something meaningful did so by refusing to wait for the perfect moment. They created their moment by taking action. You have inside you an infinite potential. You were born with everything you need to create an extraordinary life. You didn't arrive on this planet as a partial being, waiting to become complete. You came fully equipped with the same power that moves the stars and grows the forest. This isn't spiritual talk, this is practical reality. You have within you capabilities that you haven't even begun to tap, resources that remain dormant, until you call them forth through decisive action. Your brain literally rewires itself when you take new actions. New neural pathways form. New possibilities open up that weren't visible before. But this miraculous process can't begin until you take that first step. I've worked with countless people who were stuck in waiting patterns. They all believed they needed something they didn't yet have before they could start. More money, more education, more connections, more confidence, more time. But here's what I've learned. You don't get what you need and then take action. You take action, and then you get what you need. The resources you think you lack often appear after you begin, not before. Opportunities show up when you're in motion, not when you're standing still. Confidence builds through action, not contemplation. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. You can't get the balance until you're on the bike, moving forward. You can study bicycle dynamics for years, but until you get on and start pedaling, you'll never learn to ride. And you'll certainly fall a few times. That's part of the process. Life works the same way. You can't think your way to mastery. You can't wait until you feel completely ready. You must act your way into new ways of being. I often tell people, don't wait until you want to do something. Do it until you want to do it. Action precedes motivation, not the other way around. When you understand this principle that action comes first and everything else follows, you stop waiting for the right feelings or the right circumstances. You simply begin where you are with what you have. Taking that first step is the hardest part. It's like breaking the inertia of a stationary object. Physics tells us that objects at rest tend to stay at rest. The same principle applies to human lives. Lives at rest. That first step requires more energy than all the steps that follow. It requires pushing past the gravity of old habits, old thinking patterns, old excuses. But once you take it, once you break that initial resistance, everything changes. I remember when I decided to write my first book. I had no connections in publishing, no writing credentials, no idea how the process worked. What I did have was a message I believed could help people. So I sat down and wrote one page, just one, and that broke the spell of inertia. The next day I wrote another page, then another. That book went on to change countless lives, not because I was the world's greatest writer, but because I refused to wait until I felt qualified. I understood that waiting too long would mean losing the opportunity to share what I had learned. What's your equivalent of that first page? What small action could you take today that would break the spell of waiting in your life? It doesn't have to be dramatic. In fact, it's better if it's not. Big dramatic gestures often lead to burnout. What works better is small, consistent action. One small step, followed by another. Remember, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but it continues with the second step and the third and all the steps that follow. Too many people take that first step and then stop, waiting for some magical transformation. They don't understand that the magic is in the continuation, not just the initiation. This is where daily disciplines come in. Daily disciplines are the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. They're the seemingly small actions that, when performed consistently, lead to massive results over time. If you want to write a book, your daily discipline might be writing one page every morning. If you want to transform your health, it might be walking for 20 minutes each day. If you want to build a business, it might be making 5 sales calls before noon. These daily actions might not feel significant in the moment. They rarely provide immediate gratification, but they create momentum. And momentum is a force that, once generated, can carry you through obstacles that would stop a person who is starting from standstill. Think about a rocket launch. Most of the fuel is used in the first few minutes just to overcome Earth's gravitational pull. But once the rocket reaches orbit, it requires much less energy to maintain its course. Your life works the same way. Tremendous energy is needed at the start, but once you've established momentum, maintaining your course becomes easier. This is why waiting is so costly. Each time you delay, you're forcing yourself to overcome inertia again. You're using precious life energy to restart what could have been continuing smoothly if you hadn't paused. Of course, as you begin taking action and building momentum, you'll encounter resistance. This resistance comes in many forms. Sometimes it's external, people questioning your choices, circumstances seeming to work against you, unexpected obstacles appearing in your path. But the most challenging resistance is internal. The voice of doubt that says, "Who do you think you are?" The fear that whispers, "You're going to fail and everyone will see." The perfectionism that insists it's not good enough yet. These forms of internal resistance grow louder the moment you start moving toward your dreams. It's as if they've been waiting, dormant, until your movement triggers their alarm systems. This intensification of internal resistance leads many people to stop and return to waiting. They interpret these difficult feelings as signs they're on the wrong path. But actually the opposite is true. Increased resistance often means you're moving in exactly the right direction, toward growth, toward your potential, toward the life you're meant to live. I call this the resistance threshold. It's the psychological barrier that stands between your current life and your next level of growth. Everyone who achieves meaningful goals must pass through this threshold. No one is exempt. The good news is that resistance, once recognized for what it is, loses much of its power. When you can say, this is just resistance, doing what resistance does, you can acknowledge it without being stopped by it. Think of resistance as a natural force, like gravity. You wouldn't take gravity personally. You wouldn't say, "Gravity is trying to keep me down because I don't deserve to stand up." You recognize it as a force that affects everyone equally, and you work with it accordingly. Your internal resistance works the same way. It's not personal. It's not evidence of your inadequacy. It's simply a force that arises whenever human beings move toward growth and change. Recognizing this allows you to continue moving forward despite its presence. Some of the most successful people I've known aren't those who feel no fear or doubt or resistance. They're the ones who feel all of these things, but don't let these feelings make their decisions. They've learned to say, "Thank you for your input," to their resistance, and then continue taking actions aligned with their deepest values and goals. This ability to feel resistance without being stopped by it is something you can develop. Like any skill, it improves with practice. Each time you take action, despite internal resistance, you strengthen this capacity. You prove to yourself that feelings don't have to determine your choices. Another critical understanding that helps overcome the waiting trap is the power of present moment awareness. Most waiting is caused by living mentally in the past or the future, rather than being fully engaged with the now. When we dwell in the past, we get caught in regrets, old stories about our limitations, and painful memories that seem to predict our future. When we project into the future, we get lost in anxieties, what-ifs, and elaborate planning that often becomes a substitute for actual doing. But your power is always in the present moment, not in reliving yesterday or rehearsing tomorrow, in this moment, right here, right now. The present moment is where all your power exists. It's the only place where choices can be made, actions can be taken, and life can be lived. The past and future are mental constructs. They can be learned from and planned for, respectively, but they can't be lived in. When you're fully present, waiting ceases to make sense. The question becomes not when should I begin, but what does this moment call for? What action aligns with my deepest values right now? This present moment orientation dissolves many of the psychological barriers that keep people waiting and procrastinating. It cuts through the mental chatter and brings clarity to your choices. I've practiced present moment awareness for decades, and I can tell you that it's one of the most powerful tools for overcoming the tendency to wait too long. When you're fully here now, you respond to life directly, without the filtering and distortion that comes from past, future thinking. This doesn't mean you never plan for the future. Planning is essential. But there's a critical difference between planning and waiting. Planning is active. It involves taking concrete steps now to create future results. Waiting is passive. It postpones action until some imagined better time. Effective planning includes immediate action steps. If you make a plan and don't initiate the first action right away, you're not really planning, you're postponing. Real planning energizes. Postponing depletes. Every moment you're alive presents you with a choice: to act or to wait, to move toward what matters or to postpone until the time is right, to use your precious life energy or to withhold it. These choices might seem small in any given moment. Does it really matter if you make that call today or tomorrow? Does it really matter if you start that project this week or next month? Does it really matter if you have that important conversation now or later? Yes, it matters tremendously, because these seemingly small choices accumulate. They form patterns. They become your life. Your future is being created by the choices you're making right now. Not by your intentions, not by your hopes, not by your someday plans, by your actions in this moment. If you want a different future than the one you're heading toward, you must make different choices now. Not tomorrow, not when you feel more ready, not when circumstances improve. Now. The future isn't some fixed destination you're traveling toward. It's being created by your present actions. Every choice you make either reinforces the direction you're already heading or sets you on a new path. This understanding that you're actively creating your future rather than waiting to arrive at it shifts everything. It places the power back in your hands. It makes clear that waiting isn't neutral. It's a decisive action that creates specific results. Let me share a personal story that taught me about the high cost of waiting. Years ago, I had an idea for a book that combined Eastern wisdom traditions with practical psychology. I believed it could help many people find peace and purpose, but I hesitated. I thought, there are already so many books on this topic. Who am I to add another? Maybe I should wait until I have more credentials, more recognition. So I put the idea aside, not permanently, or so I told myself, just until the right time. 2 years later, I was in a bookstore and saw a new release that captured almost exactly what I had envisioned. As I flipped through its pages, I felt a sinking in my stomach. Someone else had written my book. Now, I could have seen this as validation that my idea was good. I could have still written my version. But something else happened that day. Something much more valuable than publishing a book. I had a profound realization about the cost of waiting. I realized that my decision to wait hadn't been about timing at all. It had been about fear. Fear disguised as reasonable caution. And this fear had robbed not just me of the experience of creating something meaningful, but potentially thousands of readers who might have benefited from my particular expression of these ideas. That day changed my relationship with time and action. I made a commitment to myself that I would never again delay acting on something I deeply felt called to do. I would rather try and fail than never try at all. I would rather put something imperfect into the world than keep something potentially helpful to myself. This commitment has shaped every aspect of my life since then. It's led me to take chances I might otherwise have avoided, to share ideas before I felt completely ready, to start projects without knowing exactly how they would turn out. Has everything succeeded? Of course not. I've had my share of failures and disappointments, but even these have been valuable in ways that waiting never could be. They've taught me, they've shaped me, they've led to unexpected opportunities that never would have appeared had I remained safely on the sidelines. Most importantly, I've never again had to feel that particular sting of seeing my unrealized idea manifested by someone else because I waited too long. Your life is speaking to you right now, through your desires, through your dissatisfactions, through your dreams. It's telling you exactly what wants to emerge through you. Those persistent thoughts that keep returning to your mind aren't random. They're signposts pointing toward your purpose. That idea that won't leave you alone isn't just a passing fancy, it's trying to be born through you. Those skills you naturally excel at aren't coincidental. They're clues to your unique contribution. Your life is communicating constantly, sending signals about your path forward. The only question is, will you answer that call now, or will you tell your life to wait? Because life will not wait for you. The universe continues its expansion. The earth continues its rotation. Time continues its steady march. And opportunities continue to appear and disappear, whether you're ready for them or not. The time for holding back is over. The time for someday is past. The only time you can count on is now, this moment. And in this moment, you have everything you need to take the first step. I'm not asking you to have it all figured out. I'm not asking you to make some grand, dramatic gesture. I'm simply asking you to begin, to take one small action toward what matters most to you, then another, then another. Start before you feel ready. Start before all conditions are perfect. Start before you have all the answers. Just start. Because if you wait too long, you'll lose everything. Not just the external opportunities, but something far more precious. The opportunity to become who you're capable of becoming. The opportunity to give what you're capable of giving. The opportunity to create. Don't let that happen. Don't reach the end of your days with the pain of knowing you held back your gifts. Don't live with the question, what if I had started sooner, echoing in your heart. There's a saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Whatever you've been waiting to do, now is your second best time. Don't wait for a third best time that may never come. Your life is happening now. Your moments are passing now. Your potential is waiting to be expressed now. Don't wait until you lose everything that matters to realize that now was always the time to begin. Start now. Start small if you must, but start. Break the spell of waiting that keeps so many lives from reaching their full expression. Join the ranks of those who understand that life rewards action, not intention. Your future self will thank you for the choice you make in this moment. Your life is waiting for your decision. What will you do with this precious now?